A reporter and her cameraman killed on live TV. The station went back to the anchor immediately after the shooting because they didn't know what was happening at the moment that it happened. Well, we learned more because the shooter took video of the whole thing and posted it online because he wanted the world to see it. That's one of the reasons news stations are not showing it. The other reason is that the images, frankly, are very, very graphic. But the Daily News showed images right up until the moment Allison Parker was shot on their front cover this morning. And that cover is getting a whole lot of people angry. They think the news crossed the line and that those images should never be seen. We also saw some of those videos that were put onto people's Twitter timelines and Facebook listings yesterday, the images that the gunman took as he was taking as he was committing the murders. And a lot of people are upset about that. So the question is, should those images be shown? I'm actually going to start this by making my own argument, which is I think it's important for people to see those images. Because as long as we're talking about gun violence and gun control in the abstract, there's nothing to bring it home to people. Whereas if you see the images, if you see the video, no matter how grisly it is, at least we know what we're talking about.
I'll
Dominic?
wait my turn. Oh, okay.
I'm starting with you. I'm starting with you.
I strongly disagree in the strongest possible term
Why?
with your assessment. I'm not going to personalize this with you. If that was the daughter of the owner of the New York Daily News, do you think that would be on the cover of page one?
It might be if they were trying to spur action on gun control.
If that was his daughter, it would not be. It would not. Let me just finish. It would not be on page one. Everyone knows that the Daily News has been on the market to be sold. They have serious financial troubles.
Everybody's corrupt.
And if you're, we talked about mental health. If you're somebody sitting at home and you're on the fence of whether or not to go do something like this, the Daily News just told you, you go do it, and we'll put you on the cover of page one.
Argument, Michael.
I was going to actually pick up and try to bring together the argument we were talking before about mental health that Scott was talking about with this. I see things in terms of a continuum. And I think there is a group of people that Dominic just correctly identified who are incentivized to do crazy things by the idea that it will be notorious. Mm-hmm. And I think we don't know how many people there are like that, frankly. We just don't know. We have no way of knowing. But clearly, for people in that group, this is a major motivation, the way I view it. Now, I also agree that we're in a competitive news business, and somebody's going to go out with this story as graphically as they can because they think it's going to separate them from the rest.
And there's also a value in the family not having to see pictures on the front page of their daughter being killed.
Those are three issues.
This is the kind of thing that doesn't lend itself to legal or policy.
That's right.
And,
no, I don't think it does.
There's something to just obvious.
Decency.
Don't do that.
Scott?
The Los Angeles Times has a very good article about this. My first gut reaction is I'm not going to give in to this guy's desire for me to see that. My second reaction was reading the article was he actually wanted me to be, he wanted all of us to be absolutely terrified. And we need to live outside of our little lives and see what violence is like. They didn't stop the Challengers being blown up because it killed people. They didn't stop shooting of Reagan. They didn't stop. The fact is life is like that. And regardless of what you might initially think, we should see and therefore have discussions like we just had, guns and mental health. I mean, it drives that discussion.
I heard something this morning that I didn't know before, which was that foreign war correspondents, when they're in a war scene and they see carnage, they shoot two different versions of it. One is for global consumption. The other one is for American consumption. What do you think the difference is between what they're shooting or what they're sending back? The stuff that's bloody doesn't come back to the U.S.
Of course.
But as a result, we don't really see the full cost of war when we're having debates about war, and I would make the same argument in this case. I understand the arguments against it, and they're valid. But can we really say that we know enough to debate the guns?
Would you have run those pictures?
I probably would have.
Well,
I probably would.
I wouldn't.
But back to my question. Can we really have an informed debate about the impact of our gun policies if we don't get a chance to see the impact of our gun policies?
Of course we can. Can we really have an informed debate about medical procedures, about cancer, without looking at tumors being removed?
Well, somebody's looking at those pictures of tumors.
Can we have an informed
being
debate about pornography without showing pictures?
I'll get back to you on that.
We can have those debates without graphic images. We can.
Andrew, I know your role as the host is to ask questions, to be provocative. But I mean, but this is ridiculous, man. This is somebody's daughter. and to put the flash
You're right.
on page 1.
You're right. It is
of this woman doing a live report and she doesn't even see it coming and she's executed. There's no news justification.
She wasn't executed. She was murdered.
I understand that, and that I would feel badly for the mother. I would feel badly for the father and for the family. But I feel a little badly for 320 million Americans who aren't getting the full sense
But maybe
of
we
what's
don't have
happening
video.
here.
We don't have video of
But
those.
let's take that apart. We just finished the segment in which every single person, including you, took the position that gun control and even serious debate and discussion about it was not going to be provoked by this. And we're very far from that discussion. Now you seem to be taking the position that if we see it, that will be provocative of something we all just admitted isn't going to be provoked by it. So I think it's a weak argument.
First of all, you should consider being a lawyer.
Thank you.
And second of all, maybe the reason that we haven't been provoked is because we haven't seen. We don't see what the coroner sees.
We see every look. You go to the movie theater, and I realize there's a difference between watching her being executed and what we all see. I don't go to the movies, just coming attractions I can't watch. It's carnage after carnage after carnage. It's killing and killing and killing in every imaginable form.
Images.
People are deadened to it. That's my view. They're numb to it.
Images of violence are desensitizing. They're not provocative.
And it's a tragedy to say that, but it's all around us.
That's really interesting because the reason we're discussing this is because it was on page 1.
Yeah.
The reason you're having this discussion on both guns, mental health, is it's on page 1. Now, I'd have to say this though. I mean, there's a difference between blaring it, which I think the Daily News did 3 separate shots of that, instant point, as compared to seeing what the video is or seeing it on your own time if you chose to do it, as opposed to a page 1.
If you guys meant what you were saying, Daily News wouldn't have stopped right before the shot. There would have been a picture of the guy pulling the trigger and
Well,
the woman going
we see a
down.
shot of the muzzle flash. I mean, that middle picture is while the shot's happening.
But there are other shots that are worse.
But
Are you for putting those up
Well,
there?
all right. What about
They're up.
autopsy
They're
photos?
up. I mean, they're on.
all I'm responding to is the notion that by seeing it, it's going to have some effect on the 320 million people you're talking about. I don't think it's going to have that effect because I think it's all around us. I think the question of whether you put that picture up the day that it happens relates to what Richard and Dominic are saying about human decency. It's a different issue.
But Michael,
That's a specific person.
This whole piece started off with Hillary Clinton and others talking about gun control, talking about mental health. So to that extent, I mean, it does generate the discussion. So, I mean,
to me, it generates people in that continuum who believe they can become notorious by doing this. And I'm not saying 100 people. Maybe there are 20.
Maybe.
But if it does that with 20 or 30 people.
oh, come on. And so what do we do with all violent movies? Make sure we don't show them in case we get somebody who watches
You
it?
don't have to go buy a ticket to a movie. But when you're walking down the street and you pass a newsstand, you're looking down and you're seeing that picture. There was something inhuman about what the Daily News did. Put aside educational or desensitizing.
You're making the you can't get away from it argument. I mean, I think to me that's a little weak only because you can avert your eyes from a newspaper cover. Nobody's forcing you to watch it.
But Andrew, it seems like our whole premise for doing this is wrong. Do you think the Daily News did this for the good of the public?
No, they
for
did it
the
to make money.
goodwill?
They sell.
I mean,
sell content.
you might as well step over the body.
Here-
You might as well just step over the girl's body.
Here we go.
That's the equivalent of what the
Everybody's
Daily
corrupt,
News did.
Mr.
No,
Cynic.
many politicians, some politicians
And all
are
jour-
corrupt.
and all
I get
journalists.
you.
And all-
I get,
no,
I
not
get
all
your
journalists.
point. I get your point, Dominic. I do, and I think it's a valid one. But then again, we bring up topics on this show both because we think they're important to discuss, and also because we want to sell some Cheerios. I mean, we do it for both reasons. So.
That's somebody's daughter.
I understand. I'm trying
How
to
would
save
you
the
feel
lives
if
of
it was
other
your
daughters.
daughter? God forbid that ever happened to your child.
I can't say it because I don't have a daughter. I honestly can't answer
Well,
that
I
question.
do, and I know that I would be. I mean, there's really no legal action you could
There are
take.
some things
counselors,
you just know are
right?
wrong.
All right.
That was wrong.
Thank you.
We're
So
gonna
we
ta-
agree on something.
We're going
Oh, stop.
to take a break. The Kumbaya Love Fest continues in a moment. Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio find a different thing to fight about just about every week, but now there's a way to end the feud, and Anthony Weiner, of all people, says he's come up with a way to do it.